And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the interview show. You know me. My name is Zane Miller. And boy, howdy, I'm excited, super excited to introduce my guest. But before I do, let me set the tone a little bit because I'm sure some of you just swinging by just to see what's going on. Well, here it is. I'm sure there's a lot of you who know that there's tons of information out there. Like you didn't wake up from a coma yesterday and went, holy crap, 300 hours of video is uploaded to YouTube every minute, right? That shouldn't be a surprise. But what you may not know is that a lot of money can be made if you can actually cut through all the noise out there and offer simple solutions to people that are actually pretty desperate for your specific help. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely stay tuned, watch the whole thing, all right? Now, the guy that I'm going to introduce, it's a dead giveaway, I know, because his name's in the title, but some things you may not know about him. He's a multimillionaire, and not just like, over the past little while. Last year alone, he made like $15 million, right? On top of that, he's known as the life changer or the millionaire maker. This guy has trained most of the gurus that are your favorite, right? That like it all pretty much comes from this guy, right? So now you can understand why I'm so excited about this. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this interview, but why don't you go ahead and say hi and show off your new little recording studio, Jason?
Yeah, man, I'm getting into the 21st century finally. But I thank you for having me here, Zane, and I'll see what I can do today to transform some behaviors into something more productive.
Very cool, very cool. So the main point here is that we do have some training that we want you to check out, but I want to give a little bit more than most people, and that's why I reached out to Jason to have him come on the show and be interviewed. So for those of you who are watching live, I know there's a few of you. You don't have to ask questions, but we welcome them. And if you're watching this as a replay, definitely ask questions if you've got them because I'm listening and I will respond. Okay, so let's just go ahead and jump into this, Jason. One of the things that really caught my attention in this presentation is that you pretty much come out and say that information in general is just useless. Can you go into why you feel that way?
Well, here's the saying: if there should, with all these libraries that exist, there should be more millionaires. Because information, for the largest part, is pretty much free. I mean, what does a library cost in most areas? About $0, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said it best, Zane, in 1 minute, 300 hours of YouTube content. Now, not all that's information. I mean, we have a lot of stupid human videos and cute cat pictures that do proliferate the internet. But there's a lot of people educating and giving it all away for free. So with all this information, why do we still have so many damn problems in our day-to-day life, right? Information on its own, I'm going to just straight up say it. Information on its own, worthless.
All right, cool. So then if that's the case, then one of the things that you talk about, actually quite a bit, right, is making information products. So if information is generally useless, then why are you telling people to make a product that or something that would be considered useless?
Well, that's funny because I just gave you a piece of information. So what's worthless, my message or the information itself, right? The reality is information alone is useless. It's what you do with the information and how you present it. That's what matters. And that's why it's very easy for people to produce and create information in 2016 and beyond, but it's very hard, maybe even arguably harder than ever before, to actually make a profit off of that information. And so here's the reality. I'm going to give you the first big effect that we need to understand if we want to create some successful people listening to this information right now, right here. The purpose of your information is what? If you want to create information that people will pay you for, what must you understand to be true related to that information? And by the way, not 1 out of 100 information producers, they know the answer to this question. But the question is this: what does your information must do? What must it do in order for it to be valuable? And I'll give you the answer. You ready for it?
I am.
Behavioral change. If that information does not produce a behavioral change in the person receiving that, then the information is worthless. Real learning occurs when behavior changes as a result of that. But here's the reality. Most people who are creating information, They are just regurgitating facts and tidbits and perhapses and considerations, but they are not specifically building it out in a way with the end in mind. And what's the end in mind? To change behavior. Because it's one thing to give you a whole bunch of stuff. An encyclopedia can give you a whole bunch of stuff, right? But it's another thing to produce, organize, outline, execute, educate, inform, elucidate. It's another thing to do that completely if you're thinking about how will this change the person who is receiving this information, how will this change their behavior? And if you can truly understand that, then maybe you have a gnat's chance in hell of actually achieving that. And if you do that, that's where the formula, that's where the fortunes lie. That's where the money is made. Changing behavior in customers. Because here's the reality. People don't buy these types of information products that we create, Zane, and the people that are listening to this will create after our time together here today. We don't create information products for no other reason than to solve problems. Because people don't want to pay us for money. They don't want to change money to me for you, a book. Right. They don't want a book. They don't want a video course. They don't want an audio program. They want a specific solution to a specific problem. And if we can engineer a situation where the problem we solve is worth way more than the money they exchange to get that problem solved, now we're cooking. And then if we can actually deliver on that, now we can build a legacy. So, everybody wants to be an expert. Screw that. If I want to be an expert in anything, it's taking the knowledge and information I have and creating a behavioral change. And the more we focus on that, the more valuable we are to any customer segment that we can reach, and the easier it is to reach those customer segments. And more importantly, pretty soon your customers are your best advertisers. Why? Because they say, listen, I've tried 152 different experts related to this topic, and he or she was the only one that actually had a tangible difference in my life.
Yeah, and don't you also, you mentioned this in the training, which, by the way, if you click on the screen right now, you'll be taken right to that training that we're talking about. But you mentioned a really interesting fact that I think is absolutely lost on most of the people delivering information online, is that where were you, is a book you were reading, and it basically demonstrated that if somebody is given a decent idea, they'll at least try it. You know what I'm talking about? That quote? I'm
exactly
probably
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So once upon a time, maybe this factors into how I came up with this, because it's not sheer genius, or maybe it is, I don't know. But for one reason or another, I figured this out, right? I used to be a monk once upon a time, a Hare Krishna monk. And you can Google and you can find that information out. Legit. It's not a story, right? And I was about 20 years old. I was almost 21. And I was reading the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. And the gentleman who had created this version of the Bhagavad Gita, this translation and interpretation of it, in the introduction, he says, a sane man, when presented with a good idea, will try it out if it's reasonable. And then, if they get a tangible result, will continue to go further with it. And I don't know, that just hit me at the right time, at the right place or something. Because I said, you know what? Let me try this out. And then within a year, I was a pretty hardcore monk, chanting 2 to 4 hours a day, reading Vedanta scripture and all that kind of stuff for many years. It was one of the greatest times of my life. And it also allowed me to learn how to focus the mind on very specific things to get really intimately understanding of that. And then from that, be able to kind of do what I do these days. I don't think I would be the $15 million man if I first wasn't the Hare Krishna monk. But to get even there was a piece of information that forever changed the course of my life. When it said a reasonable person presented with a good idea will try it. And then if they get a result from it, they will be receptive to doing even more with it. That's the thing that changed my whole life. And from that, I've always reflected on that, Zane. I'm glad you brought that up, because let's take it a little deeper. Here's a little thought experiment for you.
Okay.
We could take two people and we could say to them, I got this solution that will make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. And let's say both people want to be rich beyond their wildest dreams, right? But person number A, when I whisper that solution into their ear, it freaks them out. It scares them to death. And person number A is very capable, very intelligent, has all the resources and all the right things going for them. And I whisper that into their ear, the solution, and it scares them. And then let's just say person B, I whisper the same solution in their ear. Now this person has nothing going for them. They're one step away from being homeless. Their IQ, if we're being generous, maybe breaks 100, but it's probably the double digits, right?
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. They got no resources, no support network, nothing to fall back on, nothing to encourage them. But they hear the idea and it gets them excited and they feel supremely 100% confident in the ability to execute on that idea. Person A's got everything going from them except they're scared out of their mind. Person B's got nothing going for them except they're 100% feeling great about the opportunity. Who's more likely to be successful with that opportunity?
Definitely person B. I mean, heck,
same
even
information.
Forrest Gump type. Yeah, same information.
So how do you present the information in a way that people feel great about it and go off and do it, as opposed to feel unsure about it and scared about it and then therefore not do it whatsoever? That's the million-dollar question, that if we truly understand that, that's the power behind it. So many people struggle so mightily at, like, they don't even know how to say the right thing. Like, they don't even know how to organize any idea of educating somebody and giving them insight into a problem. And I'm asking you, I'm saying, listen, I don't care about that. I'm telling you, you need to present the information in a way that actually creates behavioral change and creates an emotional state that reinforces implementation. You say, Jason, that sounds like it's 1,000 times harder than any other type of information product creation approach I ever heard. Would you believe it's actually easier? You'd say, Jason, it sounds way more complicated. Now, not only do I got to educate, but I got to instruct in a way that creates movement, behavior, momentum, right? And then I got to do it in a way that's emotionally supercharging my person that I'm reaching and that I'm trying to change their life to solve their problem. And you're telling me all these extra considerations that I wasn't even thinking about before the day started? You're telling me that's actually easier than any other way there is to create an information product? And I'm telling you, yes, that is exactly correct and accurate. That's exactly what I'm saying. So here's why, okay? I want you to imagine two scenarios. Scenario number one, let's just say we wanted to make a meal, like a really nice tasting meal. And scenario number one, I just said, go to the store, get all your ingredients, put it forth, and good luck. Scenario number two, I said you could only use these 6 ingredients. You can only use these tools. You can only follow specifically this exact recipe. It's funny because in scenario two, I just created a lot of constrainment, right? Yeah. I eliminated options. I eliminated choice. I eliminated creative input and thought. Yeah, who's more likely to create a nicer meal? Person one or person two? Scenario A or scenario B?
Person two, definitely.
So by limiting, we can become more unlimited in our ability to create value in other people's lives. This is a paradox. By limiting our choices and our options, we become more unlimited in our potential. It doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to. It's just the way that it is, right? And so typically what will happen is when I instruct somebody on how to create information products, I say there's only 4 things you need to know. First thing, the purpose. Specifically, the purpose of exactly what you're showing somebody. You've got to tell them that. Would you believe 9 out of 10 information products, Zane, don't actually even define their specific purpose and objective?
Oh, yeah, I believe it. I've gone through a lot.
And that's why people struggle. Now, how hard is it? Not very hard. They just don't do it, right? The second thing is why it works. Because it's naive of us to believe that customers, even after they pay us money, truly believe our claims. They don't. They're skeptical, as they should be, right? So we have to get them to buy in specifically why it works and in what specific fashion that it works the best in. So now they can see, works great here, doesn't work great here. A wonderful solution to this problem might be the worst solution to that problem. So we got to make them aware of this is the specific context and when this needs to be applied and how this needs to be applied, right? And then the third element here. So the first element is what? It's purpose. The second element is what? It's why. The third element is what are the specific pieces involved? The definitions. So it's funny, like if we go to a conference on internet marketing and I take your mom, there's Zane, and we start talking about EPCs and ROIs and lead gen and OTOs and oh my God, she will think we're from another planet.
Yeah, she'll just smile politely and say, okay.
Yeah, she will have no idea what we're talking about. That's jargon.
Yeah.
Jargon is one specific, and it's an obvious one. It's not that good of an example even, but it's an obvious one of if they don't know what you're talking about, you can't help them. But more important is this. Each specific person who has a solution has a very nuanced and specific definition when they talk about certain elements that, ingredients, if you will, into the recipe that creates the solution. And so we have to define those for our audience's benefit as well as for our own benefit. But here's what's most important. You ever heard of the 80-20 rule?
I have. What is it? 80% of your efforts is done by 20% of your work overall. Something
That's
like that.
pretty much the way you can say it. You can say it a million different ways. 20% of people make 80% of the money. 20% of customers buy 80% of the stuff in any given market. 20% of drivers cause 80% of accidents, right? All of those are pretty factually accurate. Or to flip it around the other way, 80% of people only achieve 20% of their potential.
Okay.
80% of people only get 20% of the way through an information product. 80% of people will retire broke and penniless. It's the vital few. So another way to call the 80-20 rule is the vital few, the law of the vital few. And so a more specific way of talking about it is this. Anytime there's influence over a result, it's based upon a vital few elements. A vital few elements contribute to the majority of the result, any result. That's it. Could it be so much specifically as to say any given solution only has 4 or 5 or maybe 6 vital elements associated with that solution?
I can see that. I mean, there's only so many solutions that people are looking for anyway. Like too much is overload, right?
I don't care what it is. We can isolate it to 4 or 5 or maybe 6 things that contribute most to the effectiveness of getting that result. Doesn't matter what it is. You could call it anything. It's about 4 to 6 things. That's it.
See, now this is what I love about this, especially like the depth that you go into in the training. That if you click right here on the screen, you'll be able to check out. But just very shortly, you've broken this down into very simple, like what's your purpose, why are you doing this, and what are the key components, right? Like now I feel like if I knew nothing, I could actually get started and have a jump start over the 300 plus hours of video that's uploaded, right?
So the thing is, like, even the course itself is drilled down to the vital few elements that produce the majority of the results. I have been a student of what are the vital few things that create true, lasting, beneficial behavioral changes in my audiences. And I become such a student, so intimate of that. I know those vital few things, and I can share them with you. And then you will understand specifically what to do. By limiting it, we become unlimited in our potential. But let's drill down even further here. Most people, when they sit down to create an information product, here's what they do. They vomit up every last morsel and tidbit and insight that they have related to the topic at hand. And they think that's beneficial, when in reality, it typically creates more confusion than problems that it solves, right?
Yep, guilty.
They never take the step, the extra tiny little refinement to say, listen, if I only could share 4 to 6 things specifically that contribute to the success, to the solution, to this problem, what would those be? They don't even ask themselves that question. So unless by luck, how do they have any control over how they present those things to the customer or the potential customer, right? And so that's the next section, is the what. So we start with the purpose, then we talk about the why, and then we get into the what. We define those 4 to 6 elements. First, we give them a definition, and then we explain why it's important and how those things are going to interact with what we're about to teach them. And then we get into the last section, which is the how. This is where we present in step-by-step fashion, because would you believe every single thing out there can be reduced to a matter of steps on how to achieve it or solve it or go forward with it. We reduce those key elements that they can use and manipulate to get the result that they want related to a specific problem. We reduce it down to a step-by-step process. And when you're done, you got 4 things, and only 4 things that you ever have to know when it comes to create any type of information product. And that's the purpose, the why, the what, and the how.
Powerful stuff, man. Absolutely powerful stuff. So, um, with this in mind, right now, I kind of already know the answer, but I want everybody to hear this. This comes down to, I believe, like two sides of the same coin. I know most people are thinking, okay, so like I've got this laid out, but how do I get people to see my offer? How do I get the people who want this, right? You know, where do I find these people who are like, I need your solution?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a small town, Iowa city, basically a small town, and not too far away from me was this place called the Field of Dreams. And you know, if you build it, they will come, right?
Yep.
It doesn't work that way in the real world. If you build an information product, the customers won't magically find you. Or will they? Maybe there's some validity to that after all, because here's the reality. I want you to imagine a situation where there's hundreds and hundreds of people in a crowd. And you are trying to get the attention of one person out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in this crowd. And not just you. Lots of other people surrounding this crowd are also trying to get their attention. Now, here's the problem. Everyone in the crowd looks the same. Same shirt, same shorts, same haircut, same gender, same size, same age, same weight. So everybody trying to get their attention. What can they yell to get their attention? They could say, hey, you, hey, you, hey, you over there. Hey, look at me, right? That's about all the information that they have in order to get somebody's attention. Now, what if you knew the name of somebody in that audience? So while everybody else is yelling, hey, you say, hey, Zane.
Yeah, that changes everything.
Changes everything. Wouldn't it be a lot easier to get somebody's attention if you knew them and can call them out by name, as opposed to yelling, hey, you, hey, you, hey, you? Because the problem is, not only is hey, you not very descriptive, but everybody else is yelling it too. So it's a problem that's compounded, right?
It makes it easy to tune out.
So what do I mean when I say calling them out by name? The more specific you can get with the problem that you're solving, the closer you are to calling out somebody by name. It's one thing to say, hey, I got a solution for you to lose weight if that's a problem of yours. It's another thing for you to say, listen, I got a way for those who are over 50, who do not want to count calories or exercise, to lose 10 pounds in the next 7 days. Now I'm almost calling you out by name. So even if my ads aren't that good, even if my approach isn't that effective for getting out there, if I just go to the community where these people are at and yell, hey, you, that's the weight loss, or hey, you over there who's over 50, who wants to lose 10 pounds in 7 days without counting calories or exercising, it's a lot easier to get their attention, even if everybody else is yelling and screaming at them as well. Now, everybody else is all these other advertisers. Everybody else is all these other marketers. Everybody else is all these other information product creators and affiliates and what have you, right? But by getting very specific with the problem, it makes any type of advertising we do more effective than it's ever been before. And this works for you as well. You can recall times when you were thinking, when you woke up in the morning, boy, I would really like to know how to blank. And then all of a sudden, almost like magic, you see an email come in your inbox and somebody's subject line was how to blank. And it was almost the exact thought that you had that morning. You said, I'd like to know how to do blank. And there it is right in your inbox, blank.
Yeah, you're way more optimistic about that. You're like, hey, yeah, I'm the smart person who figured out how to find the solution I needed. Right?
Well,
they're,
and more
they're way more
importantly
open.
is, do you or do you not open that email?
Oh, 100% of the time, yeah.
But what if, Zane, what if somebody whose name you're not that familiar with?
Doesn't matter. This person is
But
solving
Zane,
the
what if we never done business with them before?
problem. I want to know it, so I don't care who they are.
But Zane, what if we think they're an idiot and stupid and worthless?
You know, I think I'm willing to overlook that.
You still open the damn thing, right?
Absolutely.
Isn't that incredible?
I want shut up and take my money.
Well, it's very. It doesn't necessarily say we're going to move forward, but at least we're going to stop and give it attention, right? And by the way, that's 90% of this business. The hard part isn't some magical 15-step secret persuasion sequence that gets somebody to part with their money. No, the hard part is just getting somebody to stop and take a second glance. That's the hard part in most of the stuff that we do. Now, if you want to sell $5,000 items like I've done, and you want to sell $25,000 masterminds like I currently do, and if you want to generate $15.76 million in a single year, you're going to have to get good at a lot of things. But if you want to start and make that first 6 figure and then parlay it up to 7 figures, 90% of it is just getting attention, getting that second glance, getting them to stop and take a look. And most people will never get that. And now, once you truly understand how to create behavior, it's a matter of carving up the market. What we want to do is we don't want to get narrow in our solutions for the problems that we like to solve. We don't want to get so narrow that only one person would ever want to experience that solution, right? But we want to get narrow enough to where we 80-20 the market itself. If it's true that 20% of people spend 80% of a market's dollars, and if it's true that 80% of customers in a market experience similar problems, well, what are the different problems that only the 20% experience? And how can we cater specifically to that 20% everybody else is overlooking? We won't get the millions and millions of dollars up front initially, but we'll basically be the only one in the arena yelling that exact name to that exact customer. And this ain't just marketing, by the way, Zane, because if we so narrowly focus our effort and our attention on that segment of the market, don't you suppose that the likelihood of us actually delivering a behavioral change, an actual tangible result in their life, dramatically goes up?
Yeah, this is cool how full circle it is about, like, if you focus on those pieces we talked about earlier, you target the people that you want to get to and you get them to come to you. I love it.
And here's the greatest part of all is, like, you don't even have to be that sophisticated. If somebody is that in tune with you, they call this rapport, by the way, but if somebody's that in tune with you, they're willing to gamble and buy your product, especially if you back it by a no questions asked money back guarantee, which I highly recommend that you do. They're going to say, listen, this guy's pretty much pegged me, or this gal's pretty much hit it spot on. I don't know who they are. They're a complete stranger and they want some of my money, but it looks kind of good. What the hell? I'll take a chance, right? Especially if you start with lower ticket items like $5, $10, $15 products, right? Then they're willing to take a chance. And that's all we need. We just need people that are willing to take a chance. Because once they get it, once they experience our formula, they'll say, wow, in 20 minutes, I've gotten more out of this one thing than I have for the last 20 weeks when I was searching for answers to this problem. In 20 minutes for less than $20, right? And here's the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing is sometimes the biggest way is the smallest way. Sometimes the easiest way to get to $1 million is to get to $1,000, because here's what I mean by that. Once a customer says, wow, I spent some money with this individual and look at the result I got, now you have a customer who's very favorably thinking of you, a customer who's willing now to confide in you even and say, listen, do you got anything related to blank? Or, boy, I would really like to go even further with blank. And now you have the greatest situation that ever exists in the business world. You have people asking you to create things that they can pay money for.
That is an amazing spot to be in. And I've accidentally stumbled upon it without knowing what it was. And if it wasn't for your training, I would have been like, why are these people bothering me? So we're about halfway through. So I want to invite anybody who has any questions. Please go ahead and drop them. We'll go through a couple more things, some final thoughts, and then if there are any questions, we'll go ahead and answer them, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up. All right? Sound good?
Yep. That does sound good. And if I had to read the minds of people here, I bet you I know one of their questions right off the top of my head.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's go with this one, and then I'll move on to the next question.
All right, so here's the deal. It's like they say, Jason, what if I woke up this morning, was amnesiac, forgot everything in my life other than the fact that I want to make a lot of money, right? They say, well, gee, I get it that we create a behavioral change, meaning we solve somebody's problem. But what if I don't even have a clue of what problem I could solve? I don't think I can solve any problems, Jason. What hope is there for me? How can you help me? I got a problem. I can't solve anybody's problem. I got a problem. I don't know a problem, right?
Yeah.
They're saying to me, Jason, where can we find these problems that people would very happily gamble money on from a complete stranger who they just saw in the wild on the internet somewhere in a place where they're always hanging out at, and you just happen to show up one day and put your thing out there and say, hey, maybe you want to pay me some money for this thing. How do we find those problems?
I'm wondering the same thing, because I've got a couple ideas or theories, but I'd rather listen to the guy who's making all the money.
So here's the funny thing is, obviously when they click through to watch the training that we've arranged for them, and I should say you have arranged for them so graciously, Zane, and which I do appreciate you taking the time to do this, is we go into this very in depth. But here's the beautiful thing. I'll give the taste here, and then if people want to investigate further, they can do it on their own accord. But Amazon.com has probably 10,000, 20,000, maybe 50,000 subcategories of different books. And they arrange each of these subcategories by bestsellers. And they refer to this as bestseller rank. And so in any subcategory, I can see what the bestseller or bestsellers, the top 100 bestsellers in every single subcategory that exist on Amazon for books. Now, would you believe, a lot of people aren't aware of this, but would you believe that Amazon has a feature where you can sort by reviews, specifically most critical reviews?
Oh, yeah, I remember this. This was good. I never thought of sorting it like this. Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, because by the way, most customers don't actually do that. In the wild, most customers that buy stuff on Amazon, especially books, they're not sorting by critical reviews. It'd be weird if they did, but whatever. I mean, Amazon makes that a feature. So I want you to create this situation in your mind here. I call this counterculture. So this is a product, a book, for example, that most people love. And people are buying like crazy, yet not everybody's happy with it. So by sorting through the critical reviews, we can very quickly, very easily isolate several different challenges, several different places where behavioral change could not occur. And we can start to isolate those things. So 90% of the work's already been done for us because Amazon has so graciously allowed us to sort by critical review. We run down, and in a few minutes, I can pull out of any big selling book on any topic, 5, 10, 15 problems that I just put right there, boom, 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 boom. And we show this example in the training on a spreadsheet. And all of a sudden we get to work. We have lots of different things that we can start creating products around. At any given day, in less than 30 minutes, Zane, I'm very confident any of our customers can find 10 to 50 problems that would be very valuable to them to solve, just based on using Amazon the way I described.
10 to 50, really?
Yep. Your problem will be you won't have enough opportunity to exploit. Your problem will be that if you stayed up all night, you can make even more money, but eventually you have to sleep. Your problem will be, when do I stop? Because there will be so many people out there that you can help and be paid the good fortune of helping, that it will be tough for you to want to slow down. But that's okay. That's a good problem to have. That's like my tax bill. It's a problem I have, but it's a good problem I have when I'm paying 7 figures in taxes, right?
Yep. High quality problems, my friend.
First world problem, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, then actually that was going to be my next question, is that why should we watch the training? And you pretty much nailed that, right? Is there any other reasons you want to entice us with?
Yeah, and so there's yet another way to find the problems,
Awesome.
as if one wasn't good enough. But the
Right.
reality is again, the vital few things. There's a couple different ways that you can go to find problems, and I know there's different personality types out there, so some people prefer one way over another. I like to give you a couple options, a couple really good options that I have spent most of my life perfecting, and making money and validating the concepts of. So another one is called Reddit list. And I bet you if we pulled all these marketers that do marketing stuff online and sell information products, most of them have never heard of a site called Reddit list. But Reddit list is where they basically sort all these things called subreddits. So subreddits are these different forums, if you will, for lack of a better word, or communities is probably a better word, social communities that exist on a website called Reddit, which is a top 100 globally visited website, day in and day out. Now, the uniqueness of a site like Reddit is users basically control in each subreddit what comes to the top and what doesn't go to the top. So unlike other things, like your typical forum, usually chronologic or reverse chronologic. Whatever's newest is at the top and whatever's oldest is at the bottom, right? Then you get places like Facebook that use computers basically for the most part and rely on algorithms to decide what is and what isn't relevant. And I can tell you, I don't know about your news feed, Zane, but they don't do a very good job on my news feed.
No, they do not.
I'm like, really? Really, Facebook? Really? This one? Right? But Reddit does a supremely good job of using user-generated activities to determine what is valuable and what isn't valuable. It's almost like user-generated, curated material where the good stuff rises to the top, the good raw materials. Now, it still lacks the framework. It still lacks the organization to create really powerful behavioral change. But at least the raw material is there to start with. So by going to Reddit lists, see, the problem with Reddit is this. It's very hard to know what subreddits exist out there. But say, for example, we wanted to do cooking on a budget, which is a great example that I break through in the training if they click through on this video here. And I show everything we're talking about today in action, full kimono open, step by step. And we go to Reddit list and we type in cooking. And instantly we can isolate 10, 15, 20 different subreddits with all the best content at the top by knowing how to sort it correctly, as well as wikis, user-generated wikis and FAQs and in-depth guides. And then we just swim in all this raw material that we then take and apply our framework on a very specific problem to present a very specific solution to, and we add our value on top of that. And that answers the age-old question, hey, if all the information is out there for free, why should I buy anything? Well, you're not buying the information. You're buying how the information is going to make you feel in a way that's actually going to create a change in your lifestyle. Let me put this another way. This is very often what I say to clients to get them to feel positive about actually selling and feeling worthwhile about selling an information product that they create. Because I'll tell you what, Zane, the real problem with people isn't the fact that they can't listen and follow instruction and do this step by step, because anybody pretty much can do what we teach in the product E-Class Ultima. The real problem is between the ears. Mm-hmm. They honestly feel like they have nothing of value that would be worth it for anybody to pay them money. They say, little old me, I can't give anybody any value. Little old me, I can't solve anybody's problem. Little old me, I'm not worthy of being able to be paid for my information products, right? It's sad that that exists because it couldn't be further from the truth, but a lot of people feel like that. And so the reality is this: if you spend 10 hours finding a solution for somebody and they can get the benefit in 10 minutes, even if on their own, they could have spent the 10 hours, okay? So if you spend 10 hours digging up everything, churning over every stone, sweating it out to figure out how to put it together, while it could be true that any individual could have done exactly what you did, just spend 10 hours. What if instead they could spend $10 in 10 minutes to get the benefit of that? Would that be a good deal for them?
Oh, absolutely. I'd do it. If you save me 10 hours for only $10, amen. And I know everybody listening would be doing the same thing.
So even if the only benefit I gave you was saving time, I didn't show you some magical breakthrough way. I didn't quadruple your output. I didn't, save the world. All I did was save you 10 hours. And that's it. You still think that's a good deal, right?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because time is the only finite resource that we can't get more of.
And it's like this. I don't care if you even make $2 an hour in some third world country. 10 hours of saving is $20 net. And if I sell you a product for $10, I just saved you $10 because it would have cost you $20 in time. So what would you rather pay? $20 in time, blood, sweat, and tears, or $10 in money? And the answer is pretty obvious. Now, here's the beauty of this. This is why this world is actually so wonderful, Zane. If only people saw it the way that I see it, the world is the most wonderful thing in the world. And I'll tell you why. Because if I could only do that with 1-to-1 ratio, it wouldn't be worth it for me. Why would I spend 10 hours when I could only be rewarded, basically, from one person paying me money one time? It would not be in my best interest. I'd have to sell it for a lot more, or I wouldn't do it and share it at all. But here's the beautiful thing with an information product. It doesn't matter whether 1 million people buy it or one person buys it. To create that, it only took me 10 hours, whether one person buys it or a million people buy it. This is math that doesn't really make sense because it's a situation where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 anymore, right? So you say, okay, I can set up a situation where I personally spend more time than any individual who buys the product from me, but yet they are so happy to spend less time and spend money with me to get the result that they want. And by spending more time and not making what I'm worth per hour, I become rich. I become wealthy. What an incredible situation we have now just created for ourselves. Because whether one person, 10 people, or 100 or 1,000 people buy it, even if only 1,000 people buy it at $10, how much money is that? That's $10,000. And you put 10 hours into the solution to come up with a situation where you can make $10,000, right? And each person only had to contribute $10 to that, and they got the good end of the deal because they saved 9 hours, and you got the good end of the deal because you made $10,000, right? $10,000 isn't going to make you rich, but it can be a lifestyle changer. It can be a lifestyle changer because that's what? 2 really kick-ass vacations. $10,000 is a whole year's worth of vehicle payments. $10,000 is 6 months for some people worth of mortgage payments, or at least a couple months, right? And it's not like it's something you can only do once in your life. You can do it as many times as you wish to. And each time you do it, you get better at it, right? So this is a wonderful situation where if the worst case scenario is we only save them time, as long as that time is much greater in value than the money that they paid, we've created a situation where they're happy to pay us money and we're happy to take the money. And then we can do that over and over again.
All this just keeps coming back full circle, man. This is incredible. Now, is this, correct me if I'm wrong, this is where you kind of adopted that name, that millionaire maker, right? Like, this isn't the first time you've offered training like this. You've offered this a couple other times. And if I understand right, most of the people who are making information products, they come from product E-Class classes.
That's correct. And, I never called myself the millionaire maker, but other people have. So, I won't deny the title. But the reality is we've been doing this, and I feel like an old fogey now as I say this, saying the first product E-Class I ever did was in 2009.
Wow, this is before your kids, right?
Yeah, so this is 7 years ago.
Wow, yeah, that is ancient times in internet years.
Yes, it's 7 years of good luck started, I guess, back then, right? So 7 years ago, we did this for the first time. And back then, we were making it all up. There was nobody to follow. There was nothing out there that had been figured out before and really ironed out to this degree, especially related to online, into e-commerce and stuff like that. So I was a pioneer. And many days I came home full of arrows because I was breaking ground, right? Now, I was stupid enough not to know any better. If I would have known now what I knew then, I probably wouldn't have went on the journey. It was incredibly challenging along the way, but the beautiful thing is I found the route so other people didn't have to. And I lead the way now so you don't have to. And the beautiful thing is we've been doing this since 2009. I was pretty good back then, and I've just gotten better every single year. And I believe that philosophy. If every year I can get even just 1% better than the year before, oh my gosh. Now, if every day I can get 1% better than the day before, now we're really talking, right? So in 2009, when we first started, many of the people that joined us in Product E-Class, you would know them by name, and I guarantee you have paid them money, especially the ones that you really enjoy. Many of them will come from me, and you can trace them back to me. Most of them, believe it or not, Zane, will not allow me or do not want me to say their names because they themselves now teach a lot of the stuff that they first learned from the source. But that's okay. I'm very, very, very much a person that just likes to spread the wealth around and further impact people through other people, right? But yeah, the reality is a lot of the fundamentals that are now commonplace in the market, the really good ones, they first manifested in Product E-Class, and everything is kind of an echo. So what they see on the ground floor in Product E-Class in 2012, which is the next one that we did, the full public didn't really experience it. Didn't get to everybody until about 2015 because of the echo, right? So when we break new ground, the people that get in on the ground floor with us, we get the benefit several years in advance before it finally becomes mainstream, right? And it sounds so surreal when I say these things out loud, Zane, to be a pioneer, to be the tip of the spear, to be the one that's creating this movement. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's me and that's what I do. And so we are constantly the ones that are influencing, and not just me, all of my Product E-Class Ultima members now with this new version of Product E-Class that we just finalized and finished up and are for the first time offering to the public. We are the ones that are creating the next trend that's going to affect the whole market. And I'm not talking about internet marketing. I'm talking about all markets where people are buying information products to help them solve problems.
Right.
These are the things that will eventually become commonplace and standard and accepted as, you know, fact. But now we can benefit by being in there first and foremost and riding that wave, creating that wave, and then riding that wave. And I'm just so excited about it because here's the, you know, I was reflecting on this the other day, saying I haven't been able to do this very often in my own products because now I'm working with 8- and 9-figure companies that bring me in to do it for them, right?
Oh yeah, didn't you say in the trend, like even people like Richard Branson are starting to make info products?
Well, yeah, everybody is, because they realize that is the next greatest thing that's ever existed. And it's funny because it's been around forever, but timing is everything.
Yeah.
And now all these people are creating information products and selling them. And so we are really still on its infancy in terms of where it's going to tip over. And I think the Kindle for really getting people down that path of buying ebooks. Because they really helped accelerate it. Now, I'm not saying we sell Kindle books, because I personally don't, although a lot of my students have made a lot of money doing that. But the point is we are on the wave. And within each market, we're still on the cutting edge, specifically even in markets where everybody's sophisticated and savvy and knowing about information products. But the reality is people are bringing me in to help them design courseware because they know if they create behavior in their audiences that they reach, behavioral changes, they own the market. They don't just become number one. They own that market. And I'm very much into helping people own markets because the pay is unbelievable, right? But here's the beautiful thing. All of this stuff I've been able to apply in all kinds of different industries and all kinds of situations. I've now been able to finally sit down and synthesize. Because the last Product E-Class thing, 2012. That's when we created it. 4 years.
4 years. Wow.
4 years. And by the way, that thing ran consistently for 4 years. Everybody was buying it just at the same rate at the beginning of 2016 as they did at the beginning of 2012. The only difference, the only reason why I had to come back and update the course is not because it wasn't good. A, it was great, but B, it was just for 2012. It'd been 4 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get so excited that sometimes this stuff just starts falling down. Look at that thing go. That's the impact that we have.
Right. Yeah,
see, that's the direct result of influence. We make one movement here and it creates more movement down the line. So the beautiful thing is we started this 2012. I had no reason to update it because the stuff was really good. Not to say I didn't get better since then, because every year, every day, I get better, right? But the beautiful thing was it was working so well for so many people, I had no incentive otherwise, other than when I sat down and said, you know what? If we're going to do it, we're going to do it better than we've ever done it before. And now that I can draw upon all these experiences of all these unique situations, and by the way, when I helped other people do it, they did pretty good. But nobody does it as good as the original, as the founder, right? And now I'm willing and able and ready and excited to share everything of what I discovered over the last 4 years when it comes to the truest, newest, most powerful, quickest, best optimized practices for creating information products. And I don't expect you to believe a damn word of what I just said, but I do expect you to, if that sounds interesting to you, to click through and take a deeper look with the free training that we have available through you for you through this video here.
Yeah. So one last thing before we get to final thoughts, and this is again something that caught my attention during the training. I want you to tell everybody, where did Ultima come from? Because I thought that was really cool, right?
So Ultima is an interesting thing. If you actually look up the definition of Ultima, it's the last syllable of the last word, right? So it's the last syllable in a word, and that's very powerful. The final. in the word. And what we do here is we communicate when we want to create change with customers, and they pay for that communication to solve those problems, right? So this is the last word in the matter of behavioral change. This is when, when you flip on a light switch, immediately change occurs from darkness to light.
Yeah.
When you give somebody an insight, by the way, sight, light, right? When you give somebody an insight, they never go back to the old way.
Oh yeah, their mind has been stretched. It can't return back to the original form.
It goes from dark to light, right? That's the final word, the final sound of the final word. That's Ultima. That's product E-Class Ultima right there.
Very cool. I love how, like, when people actually put thought into the names of their products. I always like that kind of stuff. So
and by the way, you don't have to, because for people at the end of the day, they want to solve problems. But the funny thing is, the more you do this, the more you can get deeper and deeper into it, and the more intriguing and interesting and beneficial you can make it, right?
Yeah, it's not a huge deal. It's like kind of like having an Easter egg on a DVD, right? You're like, oh, that's kind of cool, but yeah, it's by no means necessary. So with that in mind, we're down to final thoughts. But folks, you want to click through and watch the training, because in that training you'll discover how you can get 50% off. Right now, that offer is not going to be available forever, so you just need to click through and you'll be able to get the details in the training. For that 50% off. So with all that said, Jason, it doesn't look like any of the live viewers had any questions. So final thoughts before we go?
Yeah, well, the final thought is there is no such thing as a final thought. Every day there's new problems that are occurring, and every day there's new solutions that happen. And whether it's you or somebody else that solves them, that's going to happen. But here's what I know. You can't influence a solution that somebody else creates. So do you want people to go into the unknown for their solution, or would you rather have them come to you, somebody who can influence how that solution is presented and helpful to their audience? And we don't do this to run charities. We do this to make money. So can you do this and control and know and absolutely dictate the experience that they get? Because it's within your control now, and be compensated for it beyond your wildest dreams? I want you to think about that as you click through and go to the training. And also thank Zane on the way, because he was able to negotiate with you a 50% discount for a limited time to check this out. So go ahead, get in while you still can, and I look forward to working with you.
Very cool. Thanks so much, Jason. We're going to go ahead and say goodbye. Adios. Bye.